What if this whole time, all you've been missing was a different perspective? You don't need any more advice. You need clarity. I'm Megan Mason, and this is Clarity Calls. Welcome to another episode. Today, I am talking with a very kind soul, Anna. Anna is a divine feminine self-development coach. She helps women reconnect with themselves through healing the mind, body, and soul so they can step into more abundance, confidence, and alignment in their lives. I'm really excited for wherever this conversation is going to take us today. Welcome, Anna.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I want to kind of dive in first and just ask, how did you get into becoming a divine feminine coach?
Yeah, so it really like as a natural born psychic, which we all are and intuitive, but growing up being spiritual or being psychically sensitive, I always had that sense, right? So literally in all forms to myself, and then that led me into wanting to help people and into my career to be a psychotherapist. So in regards to being a psychic child, I went into my bachelor's helping children and families. And so it was always kind of interwoven. And so once I was getting to my master's, I level like education, I got my Reiki 1 and 2, and I started implementing and integrating the healing work. And so as I was becoming a therapist counselor, I was like, wow, I can do this in coaching. And so
Yeah.
that's I made it a thing. That's when I implemented my business and started offering sessions, and then it started gaining traction.
Nice.
And yeah, so like the education, the training, the background career, while also with the personal experience.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that's really interesting to me. Were
Mhm.
your parents aware of your psychic abilities and
Yeah.
like were they welcoming of it?
Yeah. So I have like a running joke that I slept with my parents until I was like 22 because I just, because I was, so that's that psychic child kind of growing
Yeah.
up. And so by the time I was 14, I was living in Atlanta, and we went to like the best psychic in Atlanta. And my mom, took me there. And
Mhm.
she was like, upon our session, she was like, "You're more psychic than me."
Oh,
So
wow.
that was really, yeah, so that was really cool and validating. And so for me and for my mom, so she was like, "Oh, that's why you were so afraid at night. That's why you were sensing things." And, you saw your grandparents as a 3-year-old. And so from there, like she was always, she's been open and supportive, but they didn't really know, right, until that
Yeah.
moment. So,
That's amazing. I mean, it's
yeah.
just rare for that day and age for it to
Mhm.
be kind of welcomed.
Yes.
Um, I know my kids have psychic abilities and
Mhm. Mhm.
especially one, and he's very nonchalant about it. The one day he said like, "Oh yeah, Papa put me to bed." Like he sang a song to me and put me to
Mhm.
bed and oh yeah, well what's the one guy's name? Like like somebody else was there with him too.
He's tuning in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And he's my child that has more nightmares than any of my other
Mm.
kids. And like I'm working with him through it and trying to educate myself on
Yeah.
what's happening. But yeah, it seems like if he's familiar with the spirit, it doesn't even bother him at all. It's just like, oh yeah, that's normal. But yeah, I
Hmm.
hope that more people do welcome it and not tell their kids that they're imagining it or just go back to sleep or
Yeah.
like kind of just
Hmm.
shut it down.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, good for you. That's awesome. And then
Mhm.
for you to make a career out of it is even more
Hmm.
amazing. They say that what you kind of did as a child or what you liked as, when you were younger is like big clues of what you should be doing as an adult because that's what brings you joy. That's what your natural abilities are. Um, so I like that. I like that little connection from what
Hmm.
you did as a child to an adult. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like, or I added in like a sub feature of helping these
Yeah.
children. And so that was always my, heart passion. And then now a lot of my spiritual life coaching clients are moms of these children. So
Yeah.
then there would be that feature, that layer, right, of helping these spiritual children, and then the parents and supporting them in having a spiritual child and whatever that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What advice would you give?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting in my excuse me, right? In my clinical work, the autism diagnosis and a neurodivergence, like we're seeing really, well, we know there's evidence that these are highly sensitive children, and they have those abilities as well. So the advice ranges from nutrition, diet, food, emotional care, right? Using astrology can be helpful, knowing their emotional needs. Like there's so many layers that you can slice it. But
Yeah.
I would say kind of moreover, just like what you were saying, listening to them, right?
Yeah.
And validating them, inquiring more, and like helping them utilize that muscle in a positive way, with help, right? So if they're afraid, meeting them where they're at, and then maybe, some sort of teaching around like energetic hygiene,
Yeah.
they don't
It's
know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's interesting that you said even diet, because my the son I'm referring to, who I feel has the most like psychic abilities, like very tapped in,
Mhm.
his body rejects like every type of unhealthy food.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
all the other kids want to like binge on, I mean,
Yeah.
not really, but even just like I don't know, any type of junk food, his body is just like, oh, no, can't do it. It's funny. But yeah, just as a parent, I feel like I've changed my ways and I've really slowed down and I've really been able to pay attention, yeah, to their eating habits, to just tuning into them.
Mhm.
But that's awesome that people can go to you and get that help because, yeah, it is more common. Well, every child can tap in. I mean, we all have the ability to tap into spirit. I think
Mhm.
every child, can at some point, and then because of society and everything else, it dies off, but
Yeah.
it just gets pushed away.
Definitely, yeah, and just remaining open and cultivating that child's skills, right? Like they sense it. And then of course in like the 3D way, right? So, teaching them if like stranger danger, right? Like,
Hmm.
you're feeling something's off, don't push it, right? We don't have
Yeah.
to do that. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
So tell me, what is your typical client like? What would be going on in their current life that they feel they would go to you?
Great question. Yeah, no, I love that question because it is that life coaching energy, so all areas of our life, but truly, the main client that I see in more of the niche, if you will, is high performing, more leadership based high performing women. And so
Hmm.
like whether they are founders, CEOs, executives, high performing as moms, in just that, definition. And so with an inkling for spirituality. So
Hmm.
they know that that's a tool, that's a modality to support them. And that's kind of why they're drawn to me, because of that psychic mediumship, the energy healing, the intuitive design. And so helping them through all the areas of their life. But we find like, or, I find wherever it is, it's typically, the core issue affects all areas. So it's not like we need to just do love or I'm just doing career.
Hmm.
My specialty is like the inner alchemy of the subconscious mind and the beliefs and the root cause of things. And then it blossoms and flowers into all the other areas. So all the above.
So how do you get to the root cause? Can you feel it? Do you see it? How do you help people find the root cause of what's
Mhm.
kind of blowing up their lives at that moment?
Yeah, no, yeah. So I have a 360 method. So it's bridging the somatics, the subconscious, and spirituality.
Hmm.
And so that's the multidimensional layers that we were just kind of discussing. And so to find the root cause, I typically start with the issue or the imbalance that they're coming to me with. So, like with the high performing women, there's a tendency for burnout, and there's lots of layers to that. And so we discover what that is. And so, is that inherited through like the family line? Is it a past life energy? Is it right just because of your birth order? So, there's the psychology in that. So, ideally, I like to go in through the subconscious first because I'm dealing with the conscious person.
Hmm.
And just are reprogramming those beliefs. And then from there, if it's still kind of going on, we look at the other layers. So where is it stuck in the body, the somatics, and then the spirituality of it of, oh, wow, this is a lesson we need to learn. We don't just want to get rid of it either. So that
Yeah.
true, full 360 instead of just targeting one thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so could it be multiple things, like how you were naming
Mm-hmm.
things? Could it be, passed down through generations, but then um, I guess like a life lesson as well, or how does that work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in counseling we say it depends. So, but I always like to say and. So either way, it's running in their field. Either way, it's an emotional pattern. And so depending on the client or how they're resonating with it. So I have a group program, and because of, let's just say the niche of women, right? The high performing women that tend to burn out, they all can relate. And so I use things like archetypes to help them identify it. So there are so many ways we can identify with the issue. And so from there, we can figure out why and who, right? And where is this coming from?
Yeah.
And reframe it. And then again, like we don't always want to get rid of it, right? This is the shadow work, like accepting that part of yourself, healing it, transforming it, and what is it teaching us?
Yeah. Can you tell
Mhm.
us more about the group that you mentioned?
Yeah, so it's called the Archetype Alchemy Academy, and this is my first launch, and it's a group program for 90 days, and it's like all of my knowledge, all of the things that we just talked about. It's self-led, which is really great, and we get biweekly calls. There are those calls with me in the group setting. I was going to say platform, and then you get a call with me as well. And so it's learning a lot about what we're saying. So what I was finding was I was teaching in my one-on-ones and giving the same homework and X, Y, and Z. And so you learn about the laws of the universe that are kind of in the way, and you learn about the chakras. You learn a lot of spirituality 101, and then as well as what we're doing. And helping you manifest your own goals individually.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
I know a lot of women out there that could benefit from that.
Yes, yes. And that's the goal, like, right, to help as many women as possible. And with the archetype, it's really cool because they can identify and use that archetype throughout the course
Can
and
you give
become.
examples of the archetypes?
Yeah, yeah. So one that I find a lot, so this cohort was mostly Virgos, which is really funny. Whether it was a Virgo moon or something. And so that has its own archetype, if you will. So they were more visionaries and the leader. So these archetypes I channeled, which were really cool. In the sense of they also mirrored like Carl Jung's archetypes. So they were general. So the visionary, for example, the shadow aspect is they have an idea, but they procrastinate. But the light
Hmm.
aspect is that they can see it clearly, and it's in the ether and there's downloads. So it's
Hmm.
like we use both the light and the shadow. And
Yeah.
so in the program, understanding your shadow, working, reprogramming, doing the inner alchemy, and then having the visionary as like the crown at the end of the course. Like now, like you're truly the light aspect of this archetype of yourself in all areas of your life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've been really noticing a lot lately, like how you talked about the light and the shadow. There's such
Mm-hmm.
a balance to this life
Mm-hmm.
that I've really been trying to wrap my head around, yeah, just like the balancing. I think some people, well, a lot of people in this world think things are just like black and white or one way or another.
Mhm.
But even the example of the visionary, I mean, I could see myself in that too. I have great vision. I know where I want to go. And then,
Mhm.
the procrastination comes through
Yeah.
and it's like,
Mhm.
like, okay, I'll do it later or,
Mhm.
not today. It's gonna, I could put it off for another day. It'll be fine. And, it's not like you're a little kid anymore where someone's like telling you what to do and that you have to do it. Like
Mhm.
big girl now, got to make my own decisions and do it.
Mhm.
Um, but then there are times where it's okay to be laid back, and I think to give yourself grace and like don't overdo it and just chase, chase, chase after the dream.
Mhm.
So to be able to find that just good balance of going after the dream and still, having the fire burning, to keep you going. But I think that's what every aspect of life to find that balance is very hard. Do you have any
Yeah.
recommendations of how to balance?
Yeah. Yeah. It's I see everyone's life or like my clients as a wheel, like as a pie chart. And so there are those different areas of your life, physical, mental, emotional, professional, spiritual. So we look at that. We do like a life audit in the beginning of the program or when you work with me. What is empty? What is full? Why is this always full? And, like a physical is lower, right? So we look at that itself as a pattern. And so, like, the first step is awareness.
Hmm.
And yeah, because we're going to be undoing like 30 plus years of behavioral patterns.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's why it's a 90-day program. It takes 21 days plus to break a habit and to make a habit. And so yeah, so the advice is to know what we're dealing with and then why. And then there's all these tools and modalities we can utilize. And then I always like to see, because I do work with a lot of neurodivergent clients, living life as a dot, right? Not as a line. We're
Hmm.
humans, so it's okay. So my advice or my tips are always like 10%, 10 times. So, just be gentle on yourself. Even though you're a high achiever, high performer, you have the visionary goal, right? That shadow is the underbelly of it. So, really just that, like, we're in Taurus season, that slow stability, planting the seeds, watching it grow. Like that's how we are too as humans. We're very seasonal.
Yeah. Can you
Mhm.
give an example of the 10% 10 times?
Yeah. So I have clients that have like they want to quit something, right? Whether
Hmm.
it's like a substance or a habit.
Hmm.
So, the removal of something is interesting. It's like, so we want to either positively reinforce it or negatively reinforce it. So at least if you've done one thing to remove it out of your life, giving yourself that grace. That's like one kind of example. And then 10 times equals 100, right? Instead of the black and white, like you talked about doing 100% today, and then, thinking about it all day, right? And so that's like we want to increment. But in a positive example, I would say like implementing, so like doing this course, like, committing to what you said you would do, at least 10% of it,
Hmm.
not to the point of 100% and then now it's been a week and right, the all or nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because people can be really hard on themselves, like, "Ah, I didn't finish it." And yeah, I
I
find
know.
myself all the time. I'm always telling people, like, and myself, give yourself
Mm-hmm.
grace. Like, I don't think we do that enough as a society. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
how much we talk down to ourselves. I mean, we're always like our harshest critics, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
we put these expectations that are just so high and unrealistic. And of course, we're gonna fail, or at least we think that we're failing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I like that. And I like for the audience to know that one, it's a journey. It's not a sprint. And just like you mentioned, it's 30 plus years, depending on how old you are when you decide to start making changes in your life, that you had to decondition and get rid of all those, old beliefs and um, just, I don't know, just starting to talk better to yourself. And
Mhm.
I know I went on that journey myself, and I'm still on it. I don't think it's ever going to be complete. I think the purpose of our life is just to keep learning and growing and evolving.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've been on it for a few years of really just deconditioning and discovering who I am. And it was very sad of what I believed about myself.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
um, it is just crazy. But have you, I'm guessing, gone through a similar process yourself, or have you have you always like I do wonder, like, are there people out there that are just very were raised very what like I don't know,
Mhm.
good where they can talk good about themselves or they don't have any of that baggage or I don't know.
Oh,
Um,
sure. Yeah, right. Like they probably exist, somewhere. Well, so the healer's journey, right? We're here for a reason and because we relate to it. And so that's always a truth, I feel like. People are born through the fire, right, the phoenix rising, and then they want to help others. So I definitely can relate to that. I think that's why, like, in that initial example with the children, like I was a spiritual child struggling. So then now I want to help children,
yeah.
right, and families. And
Yeah.
so that's my niche. And then now as a spiritual woman, helping spiritual women. But
Hmm.
in regards to your question, oh, definitely. Like, working in psychology and psychotherapy, it's 90% mental, 90% your beliefs. So that's why I'm like, subconscious first. And so I teach my clients to understand what we're doing so they can listen to their own, statements and listen to their own things. And then they find like they hear other people's limiting beliefs. But yeah, like it's hard to hear all day sometimes, right? People's statements about themselves, but that comes from something. And so, yeah, so I can relate. And now I'm so trained in it. So, yeah, it's important. And because this is a YO universe, just like you said, this is a journey. So, everything is you. I've also heard like everything is your nervous system, right? Pushed
Hmm.
out, like all your experiences, which I think is really cool as
Yeah.
well. And so, what is going on in your life around you? And that's what we do. That's the work. Why is this a pattern like every time? What is this telling us? That's info. But I always start with the client, like they're the nucleus of of their reality. So,
Yeah.
to
So
empower them.
do
Mhm.
you offer, is it like single sessions or I know you mentioned about like the group that you can do for 90
Mhm.
days. What all do you offer?
Yeah, so I have like a sprint, which I really like to do. It is one-on-one sessions, but they get that like self-led learning experience too. And that if you want to target something really quick, that's a nice 3-month process just to kind of sprint through. I do offer the one-on-one private mentorship. That's like my highest tier in regards to it is more high touch,
Hmm.
and direct. Then I have that group offering as well, which is group and you still get, time with me, but it's on your own. So all the above different tiers. Um, but it depends on what the client wants and needs as well.
Yeah. Would you
Mhm.
recommend them to do like a one-on-one before they join your group?
Yeah, yeah. I always love to do a consult, right? Let's see how we feel, what's aligned, between the both of us, and then of course having that session and signing them, on together for this journey.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Can you give like a few like specific examples of maybe what somebody would be like going on in their life that they would come to you? I know we
Hmm.
touched on it, but I think like for someone it to hit home to them, I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds like me or something I could do. Like, what would they be struggling with exactly?
Yeah, yeah. So whenever I'm asked that, I always see or like in my mind's eye, I always know it as breaking free,
Hmm.
right? So breaking free of limiting patterns, limiting beliefs, the old ways, this old self. And so knowing that they're made for more. So
Yeah.
breaking free of that 30-year conditioning pattern, breaking free. And it's not like anything is wrong, right, with them all the time. It's just we're, burning out or they do have those that's like lower, I don't know if that's the right word, right? Self-concept, um, confidence, people pleasing, all these other patterns that they know are misaligned, right, into the woman that they're becoming
Hmm.
or that they want to be. So yeah, breaking free, elevating, manifesting abundance in all forms, right? The love you want. I had like an engineer client. She was in like a boardroom with all men, and we helped or we educated her. We meaning me, but
I always say they, and everyone's like, "Who's they?" And I'm
they
like, "Ah, I got this whole team around me."
it's
So
all me. Yeah, yeah, it's me and right, her team, mine. But yeah, educating her on like the feminine and masculine polarities,
yeah,
right? Regardless of gender. And then once we downloaded, reprogrammed all the verbs and she was able to speak confidently and she was being called on in the boardroom in this like STEM, masculine field. And then she attracted the partner she wanted. She had been single for like a handful of years. Like, so it's that internal shift and knowing your worth.
yeah. And there's no coincidence that she attracted, the person that she's looking for. That always
Mhm.
happens when we
Mm,
finally like feel aligned, then
yeah.
everything else kind of flows in our life like it's meant
Hmm.
to be.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely could have used you a few years ago when I when
Yeah.
I was burning out.
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, I really relate to everything that you're talking about, and I know
Hmm.
our audience will too. A few
Hmm.
years ago, I was very burned out. I was
Hmm.
working full time, going into an office. We had 6 kids. Two of them are my stepkids, so being a step
Hmm.
parent was just very stressful. My husband was changing careers. My dad was dying of a terminal illness. The
Wow.
family drama was just crazy at that time. And I felt like my head was going to explode. I remember constantly thinking like, I'm meant for more. And you mentioned
Hmm.
that too, of like having that feeling of like, I know I'm meant for more. And it was like, this cannot be it. This cannot be my life. Like, I cannot just be
Hmm.
living for the weekends. Like, something has to change.
Yeah.
And I went into a psychiatrist's office because I thought I was losing my mind. I was like, diagnosed me with something like I'm
Hmm.
going crazy. Um,
Hmm.
the thoughts were spiraling. I was really down on myself, just thinking I'm not doing enough. And it was really funny. Like the psychiatrist is just like, nothing's wrong with you. You need, like, you have a lot on your plate. Like, do you want me to read the list back off to you of what you're going through right now? Like, you have a
Hmm.
lot on your plate and you need to
Hmm.
acknowledge it and you need to see what you can take off.
Hmm.
And she recommended that I like find an activity to do for myself. And at that time, I'm thinking, I can't squeeze anything else on this schedule. There's no way. Like, I don't think, like, do you want me to tell you again, like, what I'm doing? Like, I'm a soccer mom. I'm working,
Hmm.
and she really encouraged me to just find something to go do by myself. And so I did. That's when I went to yoga. And I feel like I repeat this story all the time, but it really did save my life in a way,
Yeah.
is just finding one activity and to cut all
Hmm.
the excuses and how you were talking about like the 10% and the 10 and
Hmm.
or like I relate to it in a way of just committing to something, like just deciding that I'm going to commit to something. And so yoga was what I committed to. I was not one really that even worked out. I took for granted that I was on the skinnier side and I didn't really have to.
Hmm.
I liked the outdoors. I played with my kids outside. Like I was active, but just not really for myself.
Hmm.
And but that I did that and then I just started deconditioning. I slowed yoga actually helped me to calm my mind down so this thought
Hmm.
stopped spiraling. I did something for myself and then I just had to break apart all the beliefs I had about myself. I didn't realize like how much I was like thought so little of myself.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
just changing my mindset and anyways, that's been my journey for a few years, and it's very lonely. So when you said that
Hmm.
you offer like a group, so many women could use that because
Yeah.
I know I talk to people that are on this path and I help them as well. And
Hmm.
that's the number one thing they say is, they wish they had people that were could relate to them, people that they could talk to, people that understood what they're going through. And so having like a group setting is absolutely amazing. It's a good tool for women so they don't feel so alone on this journey because we take a lot on. We take a lot
Yeah.
on and and it's
Hmm.
hard. So,
Yeah. Yeah. In all forms, in all ways,
mhm.
yeah, in all the layers of our life.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, right? Because like that physical, that somatic aspect, right, really
Mhm.
helps us as women ground into our bodies, and in our bodies is an intelligence too. It is an intuition. And so there's
Yeah.
that nervous system recalibration, right, that we
Mhm.
also want to be doing. Regulation as well. And so that piece we can't forego or forget.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then I got into meditation, which I never in a million years. And that's where it's really also funny, I think, for the audience to note is
Hmm.
if you're someone out there that, says, I'll never meditate or
Hmm.
I also was not like big into reading. Like I completely changed my life around. Like I
Hmm.
started loving reading. I stopped watching TV.
Yeah.
I meditate. Like things that I never in a million years would have guessed that I would do or would have the calmness to sit still to do it. Like I do it now.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think for the audience to know that it's possible. And I think going to people like you, Anna, who can guide them through this process, um, to discover who they're truly meant to be and, get rid of
Hmm.
all that, old beliefs.
Yes. Yeah. And that empowerment piece, right? Having a coach, having a support in that mirror, right? Like we really are just mirrors of this is your power, this is who you are. I don't like the word correction, right? But it is this like, course correction, right? This like realignment,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of the messaging that I use is like remembering who you are and
Hmm.
like right who you came here to be and all of that. And so, accepting and integrating who you were, right? That other Megan, she got us this far, and right, so that huge shift, right, into the
Yeah.
one that you are more aligned with now. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
I remember, when I started going down this journey and people would tell me that of, no, you're just like remembering. And I'm thinking,
Hmm.
no, like this is a whole new person. I
Yeah.
would have recognized if this was within me. And I
Hmm.
remember just thinking like, no. But obviously now that I've continued to grow and learn and educate and discover really who I am and who I came on this earth to be, I
Hmm.
realize it is a remembering. I am remembering. And that's why when people say things, like new ideas or thoughts or it resonates and it's more of a like it just makes sense. It doesn't
Hmm.
like even so a few years ago is my story is different than yours of
Hmm.
I don't recall having any like psychic mediumship, any like abilities like that when I was a child. Now I
Hmm.
very well could have, and I just don't remember. But I just a few years ago, I just all of a sudden discovered like oh my gosh, I'm sensing spirit. What's happening? But I
Hmm.
wasn't scared. I wasn't like, oh gosh, this is weird. It was like a remembering. It
Hmm.
it it was
Mhm.
definitely like, oh, let's keep pulling this string. Let's
Mhm.
see where
Mhm.
this takes us.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, again, like it's like proof that yeah, it's a remembering. It's not like learning anything really new. It's discovering what's already within you and always been
Mhm.
there.
Mhm. Yeah. And who is like like you're saying, new or this like elevated, it's a good word version of Megan, of self, more money, more love, more alignment, or less stress, and so it's like you get to play with that and you get to have this the infinite, the quantum reality that you want, right?
Yeah,
And that's what I want all women to know, right? You're not stuck. There's nobody, there's no thing, right? That's power, has more power over you,
right.
you know. So that's the empowerment. And so I don't love the phrase of like you can only save yourself, right? That's saving by, but like you do have to be that person for yourself as well. And so
Yeah.
it's the work in quotes and that 360 or that 180 change.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And for those that, yeah, like I agree with about the saving yourself. I think,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a mindset and you do have to make that decision. Um, but
Hmm.
there are so many tools out there, and that's why I started this podcast. And I want to
Hmm.
bring different light workers on to share what they do because, again, the number one thing I hear from people is how lonely they feel, how they don't feel like they can talk to people about it. They don't have anyone that understands what they're going through. And it's like, no, there's so many people out there and there's so much help and there's so many tools. So thank you so much
Of
for
course. Yeah.
sharing all your knowledge. And I really
Yes.
appreciate you coming on the podcast. Where can
Hmm.
people find you, Anna?
Yeah, so I have a website, centerfromthehearthealing.com. And then I'm also on Instagram. So I am Anna Brigitte.
Okay,
You can
nice.
find me there and Facebook, all the above.
Okay, cool. And
Hmm.
I'll put all that information on the bottom of this episode. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you for listening. If something resonated, follow along and share this with someone who needs a new perspective. The views shared are personal to each guest and are simply their own, and these conversations are not a substitute for a medical or professional advice. Thank you for tuning in.